Oh, they covered my breast cancer story. Are we ready?
We're ready when you are, Jennifer.
Great. I would like to officially call the City of Nisswa regular council meeting on this Tuesday, October 21st, 2025 at 7:01 PM to order. If we could all stand and start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, perfect. Our next item is to approve the agenda. And before we go to approve the agenda, I have 3 additions that I would like to make to the agenda under letter G, old business. So right now, the agenda has 1 item under there, which is number 1, review special event and street use permits. I'd like to add so move this to the bottom and add as a number 1, a discussion around the temporary assignment of the duties and responsibilities of the city administrator role on an interim basis. And this is per the memo that came from our labor attorney today to council in a privileged format. And Brandon, our labor attorney, said he was joining the meeting, so he would be able to speak to that. So I would like to add that as item number 1 under old business. And then for item number 2 under old business, add the hiring process for the deputy clerk position. And then for item number 3 under old business, just to circle back with council on the employee appreciation event and then move the review of the special event and street use permits to item 4 under old business.
I'll make a motion to approve the amended agenda as presented.
Second.
Is there any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, our agenda is amended. Next up, and Maggie, sorry, do we know if we have anyone joining on Zoom or?
Brandon's here.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Next up is a consent calendar. Again, notice to the public, all matters listed are considered routine by council and will all be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless good cause is shown prior to the time the council votes on the motion.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the consent calendar as presented.
I'll second.
Any additional discussion from council on the consent calendar? All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay, next up on our agenda is an open forum, public comment. So if there are any members of the public that would like to address the council, you would have 2 minutes to do so. You could just come to the microphone, state your name and your address, and take your 2 minutes. Okay, going once, going twice. All right, we will move on from the open forum public comment. Next up on the agenda are our reports, and we will start with our city attorney, Tom.
Excuse me. Good evening, everybody. Here, I just want to point out to you that it's necessary to make a small amendment to your data practices policy to specifically on page 4, where we've got currently dated references to people not on staff here anymore at the responsible authority position, at the data practices compliance official section, and then also under the designees. So I recommend changes as reflected on page 4 there to replace those former identified persons with the people that are identified there now.
Do we have any questions for Tom? Okay, do we have a motion to accept Tom's proposed changes for our data practice contacts?
I'll make a motion to accept the data practice policy changes as presented by our city attorney.
I'll second.
Second, any additional discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Tom, did you have anything else?
Nothing else. Thank you.
Okay, wonderful. Next, we will go to our city engineer report. Dave, we'll turn it to you.
Okay, thank you. Just a brief report or update on progress on 2026 street improvements. We did provide street plans to Public Works, Tom Blommer, so he has those in his possession. ready for review with Public Works at their next meeting. Then we also have been making progress on the Gull Lake Trail. Some good progress in the past few weeks, and did a punch list with that at their progress meeting on Monday. So I think we're getting closer to the finish line on that.
Good. Do we have any questions for Dave? Nothing? Okay, anything further from your end?
No, that's it.
All right, thank you. Next up, we have two items under the public hearing tonight. So the first one is an ordinance amendment, Chapter 2, regular city council meeting start time. And Maggie, I will turn that to you.
I will just need a motion to open the public hearing. And then we'll make a motion to close it after these two items are done.
I'd like to make a motion to open the public hearing or on the ordinance amendment for chapter 2.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, we are open.
Okay, these are just some ordinance amendments that we have been talking about. One of them was regarding our start time for our meetings is the first one, changing it from 7 PM to 6 PM. So if you guys are still in favor of that, I would need a motion to approve the change, and then I just need an approval to publish the summary in the paper.
We're doing these on an individual basis, correct?
Yes.
Assuming everybody's still good with showing up an hour earlier and getting out of here an hour earlier, I'd like to make a motion to adopt ordinance amendment to chapter 2 regarding the amendment to the regular start time of the regular city council meetings within the city of Nisswa.
Second.
Do we have any additional discussion to the change in the start time?
Can I just add one thing? Do you want to start this in November? The only issue I have is the truth and taxation meeting for December is already scheduled and published with the county, so we could not change that meeting, and that starts at 6. Not that we can't start the regular meeting after 6, just being mindful that that has to be at 6.
If I can amend my motion for that to initiate in January of 26.
Do you pull back and amend your second?
Okay.
Okay,
Second.
okay. Any additional discussion? All those in favor of changing the start time to 6 PM to start in January of 26 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. Next, or do we need to close the public hearing on that one before we go to the next one?
Nope, I will need a motion to publish now the summary of this change.
All right,
I'd like
Jesse.
to make a motion to publish the summary of the ordinance amendment to chapter 2.
Second.
Any additional discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries.
And no, you don't have to close the public hearing until we're done with
Done with
number
the second
2.
one?
Yep.
Okay, now we'll move on to the second ordinance amendment, which is chapter 28 regarding mandatory sewer connections.
This was talked about at Public Works and I believe at the last council meeting to adjust the connection distance for commercial structures.
I can jump in.
Thank you. I just don't have I don't know where my paperwork went.
We discussed this at the last Public Works meeting. The distance for commercial is 1,000, the residential is 500. We were kind of grappling at the logic and justification for the difference between the two, truly. So it was proposed and voted on at the Public Works meeting to reduce it from 1,000 to 500, make it conform with the residential hookup distance.
Do we know how many businesses this might affect?
It won't be, well, keep in mind that this will be for future applications
Okay.
coming through. It will not affect anything that's already in
But-
place.
So a question is, let's say, well, if the commercial's on septic and now they're within the 500 feet, once the septic goes, they should have to hook up, correct?
If they are going to be constructing a new commercial, a new structure within that 500 feet,
Then it is, okay, good.
they would
Clear.
be, correct.
I was just looking for clarification on that one. Thank you. I have nothing else.
Any other questions from council? No? Okay, do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to amend ordinance chapter 28 in regards to the mandatory sewer connection hookup for commercial properties within the city of Nisswa as presented.
Second.
I think Bruce seconded first. Maggie, if you didn't catch that. Okay, any additional discussion? All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries.
I also make a motion to publish.
Second.
Any additional discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Okay, motion carries. And now we need a motion to close public hearing, Maggie? Okay,
So moved.
Second.
any additional discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Okay, public hearing is closed.
We're gonna be down in 5 minutes
Yeah,
at this rate.
at this rate. Okay, next up is old business. So if we have Brandon on this amended item, we added temporary assignment of duties and responsibilities of the administrator.
I am on, Mayor.
Oh, we just can't see
Can you see me? Okay. My video
on one
shows on my end. Okay.
Now we can see you.
Aha.
Um,
Boo.
Great, thank you for joining us. So council has received the privileged and confidential memo from your firm regarding this with the memo again from May 16th that was re-forwarded. And so I wanted to turn it to you because we don't know what we can or can't say here, right? As it relates to the temporary assignment of duties and responsibilities, which Ms. Maggie, as finance specialist, is currently managing for the city.
So Mayor, you'd like me to give the summary of the
Yes.
issue? Okay. So, yeah, thank you, Mayor and council members. So you did receive a memo from us. We get it was today, but we'd had consultation with the mayor recently. And what's the core of the issue is at your October 8th meeting, you approved a motion as follows. Assign Maggie some of the duties of the city administrator role on an interim basis effective September 4th. The issue that was raised with that motion, and it seems like legally and practically may have caused some issues. It obviously is not clear on which duties of the city administrator that finance specialist Maggie would perform, or even if the word some is there, how do we determine which duties she would perform? So the issue for the council, like you've had over the past few months and 42 memos from us, I insert a little bit of sarcasm there, is here's what you need to think about, is obviously use the city council supervise anyone performing city administrator duties. So therefore, if you just left the motion as is, it seems because the city council supervises, they'd have to clarify what, quote, some of those duties meant. So the mayor did bring to us, because of this lack of clarity and the expectation that this maybe should be clear for not only the city council, but for the finance specialist, Maggie, that it may be appropriate to do two things. One, again, this is up to the council. One, potentially rescind your prior motion because of some of the lack of clarity. And two, approve another motion that provides clarity. So what did we provide to you, again, in consultation with the mayor, is a potential motion that if you want to specify the specific duties and responsibilities that finance specialist Maggie would perform on an interim basis, we did give that to you. Now, obviously, it's up to the city council to decide which of the duties in the city administrator job description that we attached you desire her to perform. But again, we had the mayor provide some recommendations of where she may want to go on which specific duties. So I can either verbally summarize those, or if individuals want to review our memo, they can do that. So full circle, you can do nothing, but maybe we're left with a lack of clarity for both sides. Two, you can do something, and the something generally would be to specify the specific duties you wish the finance specialist to perform on an interim basis.
Do we have any questions from council for Brandon?
So the memo from May is that one that we would just reenact or not reenact,
Yeah.
but reinstate? Because that was defined in May.
Yeah, so obviously, Counselor Howe, you've had quite the lineage of what's gone on. You've had different iterations of motion. So full circle, I think, we gave you two memos. One that I just summarized had a new motion that specifies duties, but you're right, we did provide you as background for two reasons. One is interim duties, how to define a motion in a different way, and two, a potential hiring process you're going to undertake. So full circle, Counselor Howe, I'd focus on the more specific motion at issue, but you can go backwards and look at a motion like you had in May. The gist, council, of the one in May, I'm just trying to summarize because we re-bombarded you with information, basically said that, you had two individuals performing interim duties, and those duties would be defined as specified by the two council designees. At that time, personnel liaisons, Mayor Carnahan and Councilor Hall. So that is another alternative, but we did give you the more updated alternative today that it basically specifies with a copy and paste from the job description defining those duties. So is it go back to where you were in May, have the, one or two of you, less than a quorum, decide what those are on a case by case basis? Or two, should we specify the exact duties in the motion?
Do you have any further questions, Councilmember Hall?
Well, yeah, so then basically the difference between the two is full council or personnel committee when you sum it all up, right?
Or three, Counselor Hall, the new one is just to specify right now through the council the exact duties from the job description the finance specialist would perform. So is it council decides case by case? Is it designees decide case by case? Or three, is it right now you just itemize the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 duties you desire her to perform?
Sure, then I'd say let's just fire off the duties.
Do you have any questions for Brandon?
No questions for Brandon.
Do you have any questions for Brandon, Mark? Okay,
Yeah, so then I'd just say, let's go through the list.
I have another suggestion,
go ahead, Councilmember Zahn.
assigning the entire job duties of city administrator that's on the back of this memo to Maggie while she's in this interim duty. And if we were to do that, would we need to be then rescinding the original motion to then update this one, or
Brandon?
can we Band-Aid it?
Yeah, so Counselor Zahn, your last motion said some of the duties. So just to simplify it, one, we'd still recommend rescinding that prior motion and just, I can give you exact language here.
That's all right.
Be,
I think I can hit it.
Okay,
But correct me if I'm wrong, we can't do that because of the union negotiation and talks, so that for sure would have to be striked. So we
So-
couldn't do the full thing because of the different unions. So we'd have to strike that one for sure.
Where's that out on here?
yeah, can I,
I don't know, it's gonna be in there somewhere, but go ahead.
yeah, Counselor Hall. So, we got two things going on is,
Oh, okay.
I want to, wait in the weeds here. Oops, sorry, Counselor Zahn.
No, I'm just indicating I found where it was at within the essential functions for the city administrator in the job description, so.
go ahead, Brandon.
Yeah, so Counselor Hall, I just want to clarify, you are thinking, let's say we take Counselor Zahn's approach, which is, assign all the duties. You're just going to say, add to that motion, something to the effect of not engage in the collective bargaining process,
Correct.
something
Yeah,
like
with
that.
the exception of
Right.
this.
And then also too, I would guess maybe, would we want to have a motion in there for the hiring and firing process right now of current employees, that would stay at the council level too? That would be the only one that I would pull out.
Yeah,
I don't know where it's in there, but those would be the only two things that would come to my mind that I'd pull out of that, if you find that in there somewhere.
Okay.
Well, I think of as right now, yeah, the council is the hire and fire. So, yeah.
okay, do you have a motion?
I'd like to make a motion to rescind the motion made on October 8th, 2025 regarding the duties assigned to financial specialist Maggie Wentler.
Second.
Does that cover it? Brandon, just for clarification before we vote?
Yeah, that covers one part of it. You'd have to take a second part to define what those duties are in the second motion.
Correct.
Okay, any additional discussion from council?
No.
All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries.
I would like to make a motion to assign the interim city administrator duties to financial specialist Maggie Wentler as presented with the currently adopted city administrator / treasurer position with the duties, with the exception as follows. Representing the city in labor negotiations, as well as hiring and firing
Second.
of city staff.
Any additional discussion?
Brandon, is that good?
Yes.
Councilmember Fraley?
Should there be what is the compensation we're looking at right now? And Brandon, should that be,
We're not talking
Restructure.
about,
Yeah, we already
not
did
talking
that.
about the comp,
Uh,
just job duties right now. Yeah,
okay,
unless you want to talk about it.
It's not a part of the motion.
That's all right.
So any discussion related to this specific motion?
no,
Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
aye.
Okay, motion carries. Is there anything else we need to discuss with the assignment? I think, Brandon, we did everything properly now, so we should be good to move forward.
Correct.
Okay, thank you. Then the second item we had under here was the deputy clerk hiring process, but I think that was kind of just covered in this motion. Did I miss anything there, Brandon? At a past council meeting, the council did motion to approve a job description for a deputy clerk, and that position is posted. And so there was some clarity wanted around that hiring process. How does that look? How does that work?
So Mayor, just to clarify that, so let me start at the framework. Again, I know we re-bombarded you with memos we gave in the past. So I first start with policy, and then you can have a practical discussion on this. Is that when it comes to the hiring process, it sounds like you did post it. It simply says city councilors or its designee will manage the hiring process for positions within the city. While the hiring process may be coordinated by staff, the city council is responsible for the final hiring decision and must approve all hires. All hires will be made according to merit and fitness related to the position being filled. So what does council need to decide now is what is normal is, you would have the city administrator even take in the applications. We decide who's going to score the applications, who doesn't meet the minimums, filter out individuals, then determine who gets interviewed, then council does interview and make final hiring. So what's the core? Applications will be coming in. They need to be reviewed, potentially scored, and or go right to determine who's going to be interviewed. So you all should decide, well, who's going to manage that, which could be, based on the motion, the entire council, one, could get all applications. The entire council individually could try to review them and determine, all right, this candidate's good, bad, should be interviewed. And then, however, based on the open meeting law, you'd all have to come back and have a discussion. Let's say you got 10 candidates. You'd all have to write your notes. You can't communicate with each other outside of open meeting and just have a discussion. And we probably want to call them candidate A through H. And then you'd all have to have a discussion on candidates A through H of, all right, who's going to be interviewed. Then at a subsequent council meeting, once you've all agreed on that, then bring in the candidates to be interviewed. Or you want to assign some staff to do some level of compiling the applications, reviewing them, filtering them, scoring them, or do you want council to do the whole process?
Does the personnel play a role in this at all? The personnel liaisons?
Yeah. So, as we've talked about before, that's not well defined, the precise role of personnel liaisons, but that is fair for the council to have a discussion. While we have personnel liaisons, let them do some of the, I'll call it the filtering work, then come to the council with, for example, by the way, here are candidates for y'all to consider and let's decide who should be interviewed. So is it council collectively, staff administer, and our personnel liaison do some filtering?
I'll go to you, Councilmember Fraley, first. If you have any thoughts about a direction or any questions for Brandon as it relates to this.
So the filtering would be, if we go with the personnel liaison, would be with the mayor and Joe Hall, correct?
Yes, but it can also be all council, or it could be staff.
I think personally, if we take all council, I think it's going to take way too long with the open meeting laws and everything like that. I would be fine with personnel liaisons looking over the applications and bringing, if there's 10, them to the council for us to do the interviews at that time. I'm open to that.
Bruce, what are your thoughts?
No question. I think we should, all look at it and review it.
Okay. I have a caveat to what you said, but I'll go to Jesse first. If it's a personnel liaisons, I think because Maggie's an interim role, she should be a part of that too.
Well, echo Brandon's point in regards to the filter. I mean, these applications or resumes are going to be coming into a single source.
Yeah.
Right. So identifying what is that source. Personnel liaisons then are going to identify the top handful of candidates, assumingly, then,
I'm saying with Maggie.
And Maggie.
She would be
and
the one
Maggie.
that's seeing all of them.
and then we will then schedule interviews.
Yep.
Okay. I'm good with that.
Joe?
Yeah, I'm good with that.
Okay, so would you like to make a motion?
Oh gosh, it would be the personnel liaisons, Mayor Joe Hall and Maggie, filtering through and bringing those to us. That's basically what we want to go with.
Okay,
So,
do we have a second?
well, that wasn't really
Oh.
a motion, was it?
Kind of.
I'll make a motion that the personnel liaisons, Mayor Carnahan and Councilmember Hall, along with Maggie, will do the filtering of the applications and bring forth the best applicants to the full council for interviews.
Only question is, will the entire council be able to have access to see all applicants at their request?
Yeah.
I think that would be something I'd like to put in there.
Okay, we'll add that to it.
Yeah,
100%.
I'll second that.
Okay, any additional discussion?
Yeah, would you like to see the top 2, the top 3, the top 5? Should we put a number to it?
3,
Top 3.
3.
Okay,
It's plenty good. Hopefully.
any additional discussion?
Can you make sense of that motion?
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. Thank you, Brandon.
Yes. Thank you, Mayor and Council. Good night.
Thanks.
Good night. Okay, the last item that we added under old business is the employee appreciation event. So I just wanted to revisit this with council. An email went out last week from Maggie. So at the last meeting, council motion for Joe and I as personnel liaisons to go out and look for venues and whatnot to do our annual employee appreciation event, which is very important to build camaraderie, collaboration, a positive work environment, and we have identified the 2 winners of that. So as we've gone out and done that, the thing that popped up to me, because I wasn't a part of the council last year when the budget was approved, is I didn't understand that there were $5,000 of taxpayer dollars allocated to host an employee appreciation party. And for me, that just makes me uncomfortable to use taxpayer money to throw a party. And so when I was speaking with Maggie, what I had asked her to send out to all of council is there some other option? Like, I'd be willing to donate money personally to help fund this party because I do think it's important and we should do it to recognize the employees. I just don't feel comfortable using other people's money to do that. But I'm not clear if anyone had responded. So what I would like to share with you all is the 3 places that we did get information back from. So NatureLink, Catalyst at NatureLink, which is the newer resort on Clark Lake. They are coming in at about $45 a person to 50, depending on tax and gratuities, and then also a $500 venue rental fee. Grandview is coming in at around $32 a person, and I think that is inclusive of the tax and gratuities, and there wasn't a venue rental fee there. And then the other option Joe had recommended we explore is the Legion, which is the least expensive. They will not charge a venue rental fee, and it's their highest tier package meal per person is about $22. So when I took like NatureLink, which was the most expensive with the venue rental fee, I think it was around 1,700 to 2,000, give or take. And I had said in the email, I would be willing to cover the venue rental fee. I didn't know if other folks might be interested in donating or contributing. So we didn't have to use taxpayer money to do this event. I didn't hear any feedback from anyone, so I just wanted to bring it up tonight and get a perspective.
I gave feedback to Maggie on it. I created this event last year in the same exact spirit that you already alluded to. I also funded the entire event last year to be able to get it off the ground so we can have it budgeted for this year. Completely cognizant about the taxpayer dollar spend. You know, you look at what Donald Trump's doing, building a nice ballroom right now on the east wing of the White House, right? Government entities, even munis, we host things for these people so they can celebrate and kind of build that single night event, like one night out of 365 days where they can celebrate each other, Employee of the Year, Public Service Employee of the Year. I guess as a taxpayer of Nisswa, I don't know if I would have, or if I would find too many people that would be too concerned about spending something to that degree. I think, and really even the 5,000 that was allocated last year when we were discussing it, when the prior city administrator, Jenny Max, was here, that was just to cover anything egregious, because we were, I think, right around that 1,750 to 2,000 last year, with it being in the community center. So,
So your perspective is to use the money budgeted.
use the money budgeted, but not to exhaust the budget.
Okay, Joe, do you have a perspective?
I guess I don't really have a perspective on it. You know, I see both sides of it. We're trying to cut the budget, you know. I'm just excited I'm on the party planning committee. But yeah, I can go either way if we want to donate
Okay.
the money.
Councilmember Fraley? Okay.
Nothing
Councilmember-
to say other than I think you should just keep it real simple, and I don't think you should spend any taxpayer dollars to fund a party like this.
Okay. So I'm just hearing split things. It is already approved, like I said, in the budget from last year, which council did approve. As I said, for me, I'm uncomfortable spending other people's money to have a party. I don't disagree that we should do the party, and that's why I was saying I'd be happy to contribute a third to it. If other folks might be willing to step up too, but if that's not the case and council wants to use taxpayer dollars, since it was already approved in the budget, we can certainly go that way. I just wanted to bring it up for discussion.
Yeah, I would say let's just let people donate to it, and then whatever the extra is, we'd use out of the budget, so.
Okay,
Fine idea.
I don't think we technically need a motion on that, Maggie, Tom, do we? Because it was already in the budget. Okay, okay, good. Well, we had the discussion. Well, thanks. Let's see how far we can get with donations. Okay, the last item under old business is review the special event and street use permits. There's a number of staff that were included on this memo. So Miss Maggie, I don't know if you want to start, or, because I see Tom here,
Yes.
Todd here, Stephen. Or Todd
Steven's
was
not
here.
here.
Oh, no, Todd's still here. Stephen's not here.
No, I can speak. I think my memo says a lot of it. I just want to find my memo.
And, oh, I just want to, really quick, before I go to you, this came up this summer. It was around the July timeframe when there were a number of partners in the community that were met with roadblocks. So for example, the Nisswa Lions wanted to do their pork on a stick booth in town for Crazy Days, and they were told they couldn't, so they relocated, and Andy was nice enough to have them at Schaefer's. And so there was that conversation, right? There were some other businesses in town, I think Big Axe was one of them, that were facing some consternation with some of our special event permit processes. And so we did call a special meeting in July. And as council, we did motion and give direction to staff to go back and revisit these permits and come back to council with some recommendations. And so that's what this is, just for everybody in the room. Maggie.
Okay, so as my memo stated, Tom, Todd, Stephen, and I met to discuss these two permits. One is the special event and one is the street use permit. And just our kind of recommendation was maybe we could combine these to one application. So no matter what you're doing, you just fill out one, because there could be a special event that is actually using the street. And so just to kind of streamline that process. We talked about a fee of $50. We have a lot of staff that has to review this to make sure it all fits within the parameters of ordinances and safety and things like that. And that we figured that would cover all of our staff time itself to do that. And then if the council is looking to approve these, our recommendation is that these applications must be completed and submitted 60 days prior to the event, which would allow time for us to include it in a council packet, have staff review it, give their recommendations if they have any concerns for, so it would be included in the next month's council meeting.
Before I turn it to council for questions, I just have a couple notes on my end is, I think, unless I'm incorrect, isn't one of the application fees only $25, or are they all 50 right now?
One is $25. There is a firework permit that is on here that is $50. And then outside of fireworks, the special event, there is no charge.
Okay,
However, we still spend staff time on there, so just to try and make it consistent and easy across the board to account for some of our time that goes into reviewing these.
I personally feel that we want to create an environment in Nisswa where we are removing red tape, taking away bureaucracy, and adding time to folks. So I wouldn't be in favor of seeing this go to 60 days. I know that the thing that happened with the Lions this summer, that was 10 business days, and I think that's even too long. I think we want to be less restrictive and work in good faith with all of our partners in the community. Just even looking to, like, Emma does a ton to fundraise for the Nisswa Fire Department with A&W. And I don't know if we're making her pay a fee and fill out this application, right? But it's to do things to benefit the city. So I don't know that from my lens, I don't know that council needs to approve all this. So I don't know that we need to add the 60 days. I think we just need to find a way to make, if we're going to keep these permit applications in place, to make them easier, less time constraints. And from my lens, do we need to charge a fee? I don't know, but I'll turn it over to council for their input, questions and discussion, and we'll start with you, Councilmember Hall.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, originally when this came about, it was about 15 years ago, and the purpose of this came about to keep a taco food truck out of town. That's where this originated, for the history of the people. Some of the people in the room know about that, but that's where this all started from and where it has evolved. But like I say, I don't know, it's approximately 15 years ago. And so same thing, I don't know. I mean, I understand the public safety aspect of it and everything. And with that, I would like to see the city, work on a plan, with new chief and everybody, for a more comprehensive, emergency management plan for any event throughout town. I think that probably needs, some attention within the city, but a 60-day lead time to have a little event. Last week I witnessed a little event with a couple area businesses out in front downtown on like a Tuesday night or some random night. It looked like a fun little event. I recognized most of the people there, but stuff like that, I'm sure just kind of pops up, and having a 60-day timeline, I just don't think is feasible. Also too, with the fees. With this too, I look back on some of these that I received actually for my own business. And I have an email from a prior planning and zoning person that also said it was for the lifetime of my business in the email,
Yeah.
not a yearly thing.
Yeah.
And so I don't know.
You're lucky, huh?
Right, so
Respect.
I guess
Colored in.
this has been something that hasn't been watched closely and has been interpreted loosely. And so I would say I'm not sure all of the issues that we were trying to solve with this. I know where originally a lot of this had originated from on some of it, but I do see the public safety aspect of it, you know, also too. An event like this versus a chamber event is different too, like the Friday, the lighting of the lights, stuff like that, where it really involves Tom and everyone closing down the roads versus, like I say, the fire department selling pancakes at the A&W. So I don't know if maybe we want to kind of define this a little bit differently too, and kind of the whole intent and look at it a little bit more. But yeah, I guess I'm more in line with Jennifer on just a couple of days and no fees to these businesses to do a small little thing on their sidewalk or crazy days or anything like that. I don't see a long timeline. But yeah, if we're gonna close down the streets and we put up a tent and do something like that, I'd say, you know, we need to maybe define this more on where those tripping points are, you know, if that makes sense.
Yep. Councilmember Zahn.
I agree with you on those points, Joe. Mainly though, it's just on the notion of, I think we all are probably relatively aligned and trying to make it more feasible for the folks. But are we prepared tonight to be able to bless a document to be able to make it? I would say no. One question I just have is in regards to the certificate of insurance. So if somebody wants to sell pies on the side of the street, they gotta get $1 million umbrella.
If you look in the consent calendar, right, for all these that we approved, enacted earlier in the meeting, you can see their certificate of insurance.
see it.
Yep, yeah, for
I
all,
see it.
so.
I mean, Emma, for example, operates a bona fide business in town. She's gonna have a COI for incidentals, but, I might go bake 10 pies this weekend and sell them on the street. I gotta go get 1 in the 2 million rider. I think it's interesting.
Councilmember London.
Right.
Councilmember Fraley.
I think we're all in favor here because we have businesses that do something every year. So why are we saying, hey, come 60 days before it? We know there's pork on a stick. We know Emma's got quite a few that come every year. There's different businesses. So I think, yeah, we need to change this, look at it. But if we need to close down streets for 4th of July or anything like that, it needs to be 60 days.
Absolutely.
So do we want
Joe, a
to,
question. So when who pays the permit fee when you guys do pancakes?
When?
Yeah, who pays it when they do the pancakes for the firemen at the A&W?
Well, that'd be the question. Yeah, that doesn't.
well,
seem-
Emma pays it. I think she fills out the
Right.
application.
No.
Yeah, I was just wondering. No, I think that needs,
I think it's a good discussion to have, you know, but also too, on a bigger picture, maybe just needs addressed and more discussion about kind of defining it a little bit.
I like the lifetime thing that you, that works for me too.
Yeah, because in the past, like I say, I actually pulled up some past emails in that, and then I have a lifetime permit on a couple of these because of past
Right,
things.
because my biggest question is when Emma has her back to school day, that's not out on the streets, that's in her business. But you know, now we're gonna want permits for all this, your pancake breakfast, you know, I mean, that, yeah. We just need to delve into it a little bit more. I appreciate all the work from the staff, though. I like
Right.
that. I do appreciate it. I understand the safety concerns. I think that we should put the 60-day for closing down streets. If it's a big thing.
Perhaps it'd be wise for this council to table this for the next month, 2 months, maybe getting back into January to be able to work with the staff to be able to share what any or all collective thoughts are from this group up here, and to get some feedback from the general public as well.
Maybe we can put this, because we'll likely do another staff or a council strategic session in February, early February, like we did last year.
Yeah.
So we still get ahead of the high season. We can have more of a discussion with staff, get feedback from, our partners in the community, and try to have something new in place by perhaps March, right? Because things aren't really going to ratchet up again until next spring for the most part.
Brainerd J.C.'s. The ice fishing
Good thing.
extravaganza.
Yeah, you're right.
Just one, but a large
Yeah.
one.
Yeah.
I think that's fine, and.
Or we can find a different date if we want, if we don't want to
Yeah.
wait that long.
No.
We could do a little workshop, talk about for an hour ahead of time.
Is council good with that? Tabling this and we'll come back, but we'll make it a priority to not let it too much time pass. Okay, perfect. All right, we are going to move on to new business. The first item under new business is a Coalition of Greater Minnesota Cities presentation by Elizabeth. It's up to you if you want to sit and speak there or if you want to stand and speak there. Whatever you're more comfortable with. Okay, sounds good. Thank you for being here.
That button says push, so the link.
Yes, thank you. And I know you have a lot more on your agenda, so I'll try to keep this short. My name's Elizabeth Wafel. I think I met a number of you last time I was here. I'm with Flaherty and Hood, but unlike Brandon, I don't do labor stuff. I'm a lobbyist and I do environment, energy, and land use issues. And is there a clicker?
Probably not gonna go that far.
Okay. For those of you who don't know, and more for the audience, the CGMC is an organization of more than 100 cities throughout the state. We are very focused on the issues that really affect greater Minnesota. I'm working on property tax relief, environment and energy, which is really about wastewater, stormwater, drinking water, economic development, annexation and land use, and labor and employment work. And we go and visit our cities every summer to recap the legislative session. And I'll talk a little bit about just sort of the three big issues that probably impacted you most. Just as a reminder, it was an even more unusual session than normal. We, didn't have a fully functioning, actually, I'll call it mostly functioning legislature until March due to unfortunate whether it be deaths, legislators who didn't live in their own districts, and other special elections. So we didn't get going till March, and we were also facing a situation where the state is not, we're not in a deficit this biennium, but if you look forward 2 years, at least the projections, given revenues and expenses, are that we anticipate a budget deficit, and that really impacted everything. So between having this sort of unusual negotiating position where it was a four-way negotiation instead of a three-way negotiation, and that looming deficit, it made things challenging. So next slide. Sort of our biggest the biggest task that the legislature faced was trying to get a 2-year budget done, which they had to do, and passing a bonding bill. And our agenda, just a number of different things, working on the bonding bill, passing LGA, dealing with the housing mandates, and EMS funding. And this is just, again, an overview of what the state budget looks like. This is something right now, again, not in a budget deficit, but because of just sort of problems sort of baked into the system. If things don't change, we will be facing a budget in the future. So what that meant, we'll be facing, a deficit in the future. What that meant is that really folks were not willing to spend new money, and there was a lot of efforts to try and cut programs now so that projected deficit would not be that large when the legislature comes back in 2027. And that really did set the tone for the budget discussion. So I'll just move through these slides a more quickly. The targets, the House and Senate both looked at some reductions, and it affected everything that was going on at the legislature. And some of the things that folks really tried to push on this year. We did not see a lot of new spending. And then bonding. So bonding, again, for those in the audience who may not be familiar with it, this is when the state sort of leverages its power to try and, take money out to do capital investment programs. And normally we see these every other year in an odd year. It did not happen in 2024. But what that means for a lot of our cities is that those who have to redo their drinking water facilities, their wastewater facilities, roads, bridges, those bigger projects that they can't afford on their own are hard to do without a bonding bill. And so that was why there was a really big push this year. A lot of our cities really face, particularly like on the drinking water, roads and bridges pieces, the need for some assistance from the state because it's just not something you can do on your own. So we spent a lot of time focused on that. The governor's proposal was also focused more on programs rather than individual projects this year as well. So. This is us. This was a top priority for us. Again, almost, if you're not facing an upgrade to your wastewater drinking water facility this year, probably going to be facing one in the future. Spent a lot of time, everything from meeting individually with legislators and the governor and press conferences. We even did radio ads to try and get a bonding bill done. Lots of engagement. It did get done at the very end, and it was very happy, at least for us, to see several things that benefit our cities. I think it's on the next slide. And that included money for the Public Facilities Authority, again, for that drinking water and wastewater, and a new emerging contaminants program, because we're seeing a lot of cities facing things like PFAS and manganese in their water that they need to take care of, as well as money for local roads, bridges, and economic development. So it was a pretty small bill, not a lot of local projects, but it was really focused on things that do help our local governments. Housing and zoning. This is an issue. I talked about it last year. I'm talking about it this year. I'll be talking about it next year. It is something I encourage. If you care about it, please do talk to your legislators. But basically, there's been several packages, different flavors every year, but it bills where the legislature is saying to cities like you, hey, we think you should zone in this way, not that way. We think you need to be putting more houses here and not putting any parking requirements. I mean, I'm oversimplifying it, but basically these bills are, and it's an effort to try and increase housing, but it's being done at a state level rather than at a local government level. There's, bans on if you have aesthetic design requirements in your cities, you wouldn't have been allowed to do it anymore. A lot of different things. And, I will say that this is an area I actually spent in an inordinate amount of time personally working on. And it is one of those things where I'm seeing a lot of our cities are making these changes, but they are making those choices themselves rather than having it dictated from St. Paul. And as you'll see on the next slide, we were able to stop at a lot of committee hearings. I would have to say we had really engaged city members from across the state who really helped us do this work. We did try and do compromise because we know that, sometimes, everybody needs to give a little bit. We came up with a compromise package. We were told, too little, too late. So nothing happened. This issue will continue to be up at the legislature. We are trying to work with legislators so that it is something that, we can, get to a place where our cities can accept. But it's an issue, I would say, if your city cares about this, let your legislators know. And if you want to get more engaged, let me know, because we will be continuing to work on this coming legislative session. Just a number of other things. Local sales tax moratorium ended. If that's something your city's been interested in, you can start bringing those forward. We were able to minimize cuts to the corridors of commerce, modified language on the greenhouse gas impacts in the roads. That's a whole transportation issue that we are continuing to be concerned about. Helped create a funding program for EMS services in Greater Minnesota. I've been getting more engaged on the some of the natural gas line extension issues. I'd say if you're interested in that, we have done some deep dives in our weekly in brief newsletter. And then another thing that I will be continuing to work on is advocacy around the wild rice sulfate issue, which is impacting industry and municipalities. So Looking ahead, legislature starts, it's going to be a different season. I don't need to recount the tragic events of earlier this summer, but it means we have different leadership. We do have a special election. I keep forgetting about that, but there's 2 Senate seats up in November. I'll be honest, I don't think either of them are going to flip, but if it does, it could change the balance of power. Obviously, decisions at the federal level could affect the state budget. I don't think we'll have to reopen things in the spring, but it's possible. But session starts February 17th. And away we go then. I do want to just highlight, if you are interested in getting engaged on any more of these issues, our fall conference is coming up in a couple of weeks in Grand Rapids. Biggest event of the year is usually our Legislative Action Day. And next summer, we're going to New Ulm, which I know Nisswa was lovely. I know you would never want to leave this during the summer, but if you did, New Ulm's a great place to be. Again, want to thank you for your membership in the CGMC. We are always looking to have more people get engaged, especially our elected officials. There's a staff list in those packets. Please contact any of us if there's an issue you want to talk about or get more engaged on. So, thank you.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Do
Yeah.
any council have any questions for Elizabeth? Well, thank you for driving up and being a part of this and presenting. We
Thank you.
appreciate it.
Yep.
Okay, next under new business is related to the fire relief benefit increase. Sean was not available tonight. Andy, would you like to come and speak to that?
In your packets, I had a letter and a little spreadsheet showing that we're looking for an increase to 6,900 per year served. And that still puts us over the 110% vested, as we had discussed in previous years.
Do we have any questions for Andy? Okay, do we have a motion to increase the fire relief benefit as presented?
I'll make a motion. Go ahead, do it.
Okay, to increase the fire relief benefit as presented? Okay, so Bruce is making a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All right, any additional discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Councilmember Fraley locked away. Motion carries.
Majority.
Okay, next is approving the hire of firefighter Matthew Kruger.
Yes,
Are you gonna speak to that, or Joe, or
doesn't matter.
doesn't matter?
Go ahead. Or do you have the stuff?
No.
Okay.
So we interviewed, well, all 3 of these applicants. The review process was 4 members plus the interviewee. And all 3 of them were approved, or I guess what's the right word? Recommended, there you go, recommended for hire. So,
Okay, perfect. Any questions for Andy or Joe?
Nothing.
Okay, do we have a motion to approve the hire of firefighter Matthew Kruger?
Make a motion to approve to hire firefighter Matthew Kruger.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None? Okay, motion carries. Next,
Congratulations.
congrats. Next is to approve the hire of firefighter Taylor Morris.
I make a motion to approve to hire firefighter Taylor Morris.
Second.
Any additional discussion?
I'll just say, Taylor and Tyler, both of those are, both sons of firemen on the department, so that's kind of neat, and that's through our Explorer program, for those of you that don't know about that.
Oh, so there's a lot of bias, preferential treatment I hear, huh?
neither parent
Chief
was in
kid.
the interview process.
Ah,
Right.
you guys got a special uniform for the Chiefs kid, right?
Yes, yep.
Good.
It's
Sounds
very
good to me.
flashy, so we can find them.
No, but it's kind of a neat program, and.
Yes, they were both explorers prior, so
Yeah,
they've
they
been
both-
Cool.
part of the
they-
department to the extent they can as an explorer.
Was this, so would these be the first hires in that program? Or through that program?
No, Cody Carlson for sure, and I don't know if there was any.
Well,
before that.
Richard, you know, Nate and stuff was years past, I think, wasn't he?
He was
don't
an
know, it's
explorer,
been
but I
going
don't think he
on
was
for a
hired
while.
on.
Okay.
That's
Yeah,
really
I'm
cool.
unfamiliar.
So it's kind of a neat program
Yeah.
Nisswa has.
Nice work.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Anything else? Otherwise, I'll call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, motion carries. And lastly, to approve the hire of firefighter Tyler Bailey.
Make a motion to approve to hire firefighter Tyler Bailey.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, motion carries.
We should have added some additional verbiage to that one for Mr. Tyler Bailey, that he had to wear a special uniform for those calls.
Well, I
You
don't know
guys
if we
will
need
take care of that,
verbiage,
though.
we can just do it.
It's always funner when it comes from the top down. right?
Yeah.
Congratulations to
Thank-
all.
Good work.
We appreciate it. Okay, next under new business is the Gull Lake Trail fencing. Amber.
Awesome, thank you. So we are nearing the home stretch of the Gull Lake Trail here, as Dave mentioned earlier. Tonight with the fencing, we do want to receive some direction from council on how to proceed. In your packet, it kind of outlines two options as well as some photographs. Kind of hard to discern, but we have the option of grading out the land adjacent to it or continuing on with the fencing. The whole reason this has come forth, there's a shortage in material, and through discussions with the contractor, the cost of the material has significantly increased. So we looked through some different options. I'll let Dave or Bill explain some more. But ultimately, we are looking for council direction as how they'd like to proceed. There is the potential that the additional fencing would be outside our spending authority, and that is why it is coming to you.
Dave, do you have,
Sure. So
Thank
this
you.
is a question about, do you want the fence or not want the fence? It can be either way and meet trail standards. If you don't put the fence, it's about 140 lineal feet of fence that's in the plans. If you don't want the fence, we can still meet trail standards with the grading. It's essentially graded to meet that standard right now. So you'd save about $5,700 on fence if you decide not to go with it. If you would like it put in, it would have to go in probably next spring when we can get the materials.
so correct me if I'm wrong. So for those that don't know, Joe and I actually met out at this specific section of the trail with Amber. Bill also came and Lonnie from Grandview was there and we were there for probably over an hour walking up and down. I haven't been as plugged into this, but it was my understanding from that kind of site visit walkthrough we did that day is that it wasn't the plans to extend that fence beyond where it currently stopped. And that was the expectation, I thought, as a part of the plan. So when we were walking that whole length, Bill, you were there, right? Correct me if I'm wrong, because that was my understanding, Joe.
Yeah, correct. So I guess from my point of view, is in the drawing, is in the plan, you know, as a fixed price contract to have this done, correct?
Correct.
So I don't know why we're discussing it right here, right now. Price of materials went up, that's on the contractor, that's not for us to discuss.
I concur. And I guess my question would be is, as a contractor, if you're buying some of the material, why not buy all of it,
Right.
especially for that specific fence? Question I would have for Lenver.
Okay, so the direction is to put the fence in. Okay, we'll handle it with landwehr.
Tom, do we need a formal motion on that?
No.
Okay.
Gonna peel that off and there'd be a assume, but we're not doing it.
Okay, and Mark, you weren't here, but we were just talking about the fence because it was agreed in the plan to, okay, so
And
You were
it's a fixed
saying-
price contract to
Yeah.
come back now and just say, hey, the materials went up, we want more money, that's. But, sorry, that's not our issue.
I'd get ran off a job.
do you have any disagreement with that? With us? Okay, because you had just walked in. Bruce, do you have any?
Yeah.
Okay, I think we're all on the same page then.
Okay, thank you.
Okay,
Thanks,
good.
Amber.
Thanks, Amber. And then pay application number 5 for the Gull Lake Trail.
So the
Yeah.
pay application before you, sorry, do I jump in?
Go Dave.
Pay application before you tonight is in the amount of $20,208.69 for progress made on the trail. That's what we're recommending for payment. This is a partial payment.
So my only question with this pay application, after looking at the existing partial fence that is installed, my recommendation would be to hold back at least all that price, just because the current fence and the quality and condition of the installation of the fence that's already been put in isn't up to par as seen on site. So I don't know. I don't have all those numbers. I don't
Can I
know.
speak to that?
Yeah, can you?
So we're holding retainage on the contractor for those types of items. And we just went through a punch list with them that's pretty comprehensive. And before we'd recommend payment and release of that retainage, they'd have to complete all those items. And that includes, rectifying any of the fence issues.
So we have enough retaining held to
Yes.
cover that fence? Okay,
Yeah.
that'd be my only question with it.
Okay.
Okay.
If we have the retainage held back to cover, then
So it's fine.
I think it's
Yeah.
fine. So do we have a motion to approve pay application number 5 for the Gull Lake Trail?
Make a motion to approve pay application number 5 for the Gull Lake Trail in the amount of, boy, I lost it.
$20,208.69.
20,000.
$20,208.69.
Second.
All right, any discussion? Okay, all those in favor for approving the pay application signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Item number 8 under new business is change order number 6 for the Gull Lake Trail.
Okay, this one is a time extension change order. There's no dollar amount being changed. It's just the time for substantial completion from October 15th and November 15th to get to substantial completion. And the reason for this is that they were they would have not been able to get to substantial completion at October 15th. They just had some issues there that had to go beyond that time. So that's what we're recommending, let it go to November 15th, and they're not subject to liquidated damages from that standpoint.
So you do put LDs in these contracts? WSN is putting liquidated damages in these?
Yes,
What does it typically amount to? 5-10%?
it's usually on a per day basis.
Not to exceed a 5 to 10%?
It's a little bit different than that, but if you would like, I can go through that word.
No, that's
in
fine.
detail.
I guess my only question would be were any of these delays due to the city of Nisswa? And if not, then why would we offer them a extension to the completion date?
I don't think there were any issues caused by the city in Nisswa on this. So it's progress. Sometimes time extensions are given for a number of different reasons. Could be the weather, could be, just the progress made. Sometimes, there's varying reasons for it.
Yeah, absolutely. And in my world, we run into that too. However, I don't have a city council to be able to go to try to get a extension. And I'm held to that contract. And I think it's fair to the taxpayers of the city when we pay our tax dollars for a specific asset, like that piece of the trail. We should get it when we're expecting it to be completed. Without trying to make an example out of this specific one, I just believe it's bottom line principle.
Do you know what the reason? I know you mentioned there could be different reasons for a delay, but do you know specifically?
Yeah, there were some issues out there with getting some curb replaced that was too flat. They did that That's essentially what you approve payment for. And then there was some base issue, density issues that had to be resolved. And then the paving scheduled and some concrete flat work to be installed out there. The concrete work needs to happen, sometimes delayed due to the weather. And so, you know, that's how that goes, especially this time of the year. So
Mhm.
a little bit of flexibility with that, you know, is helpful when we run up against that this time of the year. And so substantial completion is essentially for this project defined as being usable. Okay, it's not going to be usable without the fence issues being addressed, and that's going to take until November 15th.
Are there any other issues related to this substantial completion date pushing back for adjacent property owners to do what they want to do, you know?
No, none have been raised. All of the accesses are free and clear for people. You know, signage is going to be going back in shortly. Mailboxes, that sort of thing. So.
The only thing I would say is from that day that we were out there with Amber and Bill and Lonnie and everyone, and right, it was a learning for me in a lot of ways too, because contracting is not my world. So I think Amber, you even said I probably learned a lot that day, is that there seemed to be so many road bumps or challenges with this,
Nuances.
nuances with this specific project that, you know, and this is probably just a part of it that compounds on top of it, right? But with this specific contractor. So. Does anyone in council have a motion they would like to make related to this change order to extend the time?
I have no motion I'd make on this, and in fact, I'd rather see us have a good understanding to be able to, if there was significant, right, if there was significant weather that's not in the category of force majeure on this project. I mean, anybody that drives past that portion of 77 knows that that project's idly vacant for 30, 45, 60 days. And typically, when a contract extension is being requested by a change order or even just in negotiations, it's typically not coming at the 11th hour, right? So I, for one, am not in favor of this and would be willing to, at least in my position on this council, discuss rectifying it after the fact to be able to understand that if there was significant exposure to that project that caused it to go beyond its acceptance date to turn over to the city for usable use. I mean, it's not like this fence situation just came up last minute either. I would not see this being a viable path forward for me to be able to make a motion, no.
How does the rest of council feel? Councilmember Fraley,
I agree with Councilmember Zahn.
Councilmember London, Councilmember Hall?
Same thing.
Yeah, okay, I don't think we have a motion, Dave.
Okay. All right, we'll see how we deal with that with Landwehr then. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next up, we're still on parks, but the local option sales tax next steps, Amber.
Yes, thank you. So for people in the audience here and listening at home, local option sales tax, the moratorium expired at the end of May. So cities can now, submit requests to the legislation during the 2026 session. So since the initiation of the Parks and Rec Master Plan, this has been a funding mechanism that we've been discussing. And so now that the moratorium is up, we are bringing it to light again to determine if this is a path we want to go forward with. So no decisions have been made. We had discussions at the September 18th workshop. We did bring it to the town hall on September 30th, and I am here today to provide an update for everyone. So in my packet, you have a little bit of a tentative timeline here. Here in October, we've been working diligently to try and obtain some information from PFM. Maggie Dale. Receive that? Okay. So that should be, I got that email the other day, so you guys have that in front of you. PFM is our financial manager. They went through some bonding scenarios, what that might look like, how that would layer into everything else that we have going on. So that is a critical piece of information as we navigate this process and the feasibility of it. So with that, now that we have that information, looking for feedback from council tonight, questions from council that we can go get answers on, with the hope of drafting a resolution for council to review, coming up, hopefully November, December would be the absolute latest. And so you have a tentative timeline there. For everyone listening, the process to go forward with requesting this is the city would have to adopt a resolution. We would present a bill to legislation in January if they would accept it. The city has to adopt a second resolution afterwards, and then it can go to a vote of the residents. So it's kind of a 4-step process. In my packet, there's a really good article from the League of Minnesota Cities that outlines that process, what it can be used for. So biggest thing is regionally significant capital projects. So we are looking at Nisswa City Park with that one. So for council tonight, you have that email from PFM with some different bonding scenarios, what the capacities are, what the payments would be, the total debt service. And then I did hear back from the University of Minnesota. They did the initial analysis using mobile data. That was 2022 data that they used. And at that time, it showed that revenue generated would be about $655,000 annually.
And that was about 80% from non-residents.
65% from non-residents. And so we used that known data, gave that to PFM for their analysis. In contacting the U of M, if we wanted to update that report, they said they could do it by the year end, and it was most likely going to be 2023 data. So not a significant update in terms of a year. But we do have the option that they could get slightly newer information if we wanted to pursue that. And then just a reminder for what we need in that resolution, we have to identify the project costs, what that 0.5% sales tax would generate. So what we know is about 655,000, and then over X amount of years. And so in the scenarios, it was about a 15-year bond. And so looking for questions from council, feedback from council, what other information do we need, just general thoughts and sentiment. And then the other thing is that we have not discussed is if we do decide to go forth with this, if we need to seek professional services. So anything for lobbying, material, development of legislation, or coordinating any meetings or hearings or things like that. So I bring this up now in case that is something that we need to think about or get quotes on if we determine that we want to move forward.
So my position hasn't changed, and you know what it is.
Yes.
I am against a local option sales tax for a number of reasons. I think adding an additional tax burden to our families and the people in our community is the last place we should go. I am in full support of the parks. I see the value of the parks, and I do understand the needs that we do need to invest in those parks. But I think there are just other areas other avenues we can consider first, which we have talked about, right? Looking at fundraising opportunities. We've got money in our coffers through different funds and whatnot. Is it not something that the city can put our foot forward with money we've already collected from the taxpayers and do that first before going to a local option sales tax. That being said, I know I'm 1 vote out of 5, and if 3 council members choose to move the process forward, it will move forward. I think everybody knows where I stand on that. The other thing I will say, and I have shared this with Amber, is that it is a lengthy process to go through, and we do have to find legislators to carry forward the legislation, and you would do that with your local legislators. Well, our legislators in this area are the Heinzmans. We both know that they are very conservative, and I just don't see them being on board wanting to carry forward adding a sales tax increase in the area. I could be wrong, but just from my experience and understanding that 2026 is an election year and everyone's back on the ballot, I could see us maybe hitting a road bump there as well. I am not in favor of hiring or pursuing or getting quotes for a lobbying group, because that is then hiring those people to try to advocate and push it through if it does make the ballot and potentially impact voters, instead of letting them just digest the information, make up their own minds if they want to impose a 0.5% sales tax increase on themselves. And I think one of the things that I have learned in doing research is that in 2023, the city of Mounds View, their voters learned just before their election that a University of Minnesota extension study underestimated the true cost of the proposed local option sales tax increase, because it failed to include things like online purchases, utility bills, and other taxable services. So while the study that I've heard you guys cite before from the U of M from 2022 here, you've mentioned it's mobile data, how statistically significant is that data? Do they know that those mobile pings are truly from tourists, or were they from full-time residents? What were the purchases made on, right? And so I always get a little hesitant to make a big decision like this without knowing if the data is truly correct. And I also think it would be really important for us to hear from the business community as a whole in Nisswa and what their feedback is to the local option sales tax. And I know there's a session set up for November 5th. And I feel like that would be really important and critical input for every member of this council to hear before forward action was taken in that regard. Again, I'm just one person. Those are my thoughts. I'll turn it over to start with Councilmember Hall for your thoughts next.
Yeah, I guess my thoughts are on, now people out in the community know this. I've been reached out to several times with this, question like, what's going on? What are we doing? And I think the staff or whoever, Amber, if that's going to be, if you're going to be the voice of it, I would suggest, having some more information, classes, or, some community involvement stuff set up in the near future for people to come Q&A sort of thing. Just the feedback that I've got from the community on it, because,
Yeah, this is the first,
what's that?
this is the first public, like, YouTube meeting that we've had on it, so I
Yeah,
100% agree.
Today alone, 3 different people from the community talked to me or showed me your contact, with news travels fast. So, to get a Q&A out there, I think would be important for the community, just because there's a lot of misconceptions around this. And so that would be my feedback at this time. I mean, putting something like this out there, we gotta be ready to answer all the questions.
Councilmember Zahn.
Mayor Carney, what are the other funding options that you're referring to that we could go outside of straight up fundraising?
So we had talked about, I think at our workshop or strategic planning session, that we do have some money set aside in different funds, right? And if we were looking at, I think it's a bit too unrealistic and ambitious to say, hey, we're gonna redo this whole $10 million Grand Parks master plan all at once, but look at it in phases. Hey, phase 1 is the playground and whatever else is included. Phase 2 is, I'm just making this up, right? Like the warming hut and the ice. Phase 3 is whatnot, right? If you piecemeal it like that and you're able to use some of those funds that we've already raised or set aside, or maybe use some transfers from our 2 revenue generating sources at the city, which is not forcibly taking money from people, but by choice with the spirits and the pickle. Is that something we could use to get things started outside of the fundraising avenue?
Yeah, which is why I proposed moving 500,000 from the liquor fund, sitting on a balance of 1.189 million. So, why not leverage our local and non-local, adults, that have a certain habit that, that provide a good revenue source for the city. But I would also ask, not to just this council, but perhaps the public too, 2,150-ish residents in this town. We have park infrastructure that's aged, obviously. And for clarity from a resident that misheard you from the town hall meeting, we do not have $7 million sitting in cash to be able to construct a new park. Your comment was, Amber, and you can clarify me if I'm wrong, it's roughly 7 million in sitting asset that's been invested over that. Is that correct? Thank you. If we have 2,150 residents and say 100, 200 some children or young individuals or adults that are locals actively using that park, there has got to be a number that is 5, 10, 20x that is coming from out of town that are tourists here for a weekend or longer that are enjoying our city amenities, taxpayer paid amenities. A local option sales tax is essentially a heck of a way, in my opinion, Amber, and I agree with you on this, to be able to lever the serious amount of traffic that this town and this part of Crow Wing County gets during our peak season, to be able to allocate to one of our most important assets in the city, which is that park, which is at its brink. I think that, when we discussed leveraging some of the existing cash surplus that the city has, which is in various pots, is to be able to do some Band-Aid projects to be able to get, I believe you suggested perhaps some swing sets, for example, to get them moving forward. But why not let this go to the vote to the taxpayers of the city of Nisswa? Why not create the narrative to them of this is your infrastructure you're paying for anyway. How often are you using it versus people that aren't even from here and pay $1 or a red cent to this town or this community? I don't feel as if this is going to drive business away. We have a neighboring town or two just south of here that has the same amount as a sales tax. I still go to Fleet Farm and I don't even notice that 0.5% on there. Why? Because I need to go to Fleet Farm. And I would still beckon to say that somebody's still going to want that Main Street beer and cheeseburger, or the pickle McGolden beer, or to go to Grandview for that matter. I would hate to see this opportunity go to the wayside, and love to see us be united and trying to give this opportunity to all of us that are really the ones funding a lot, us taxpayers, funding a lot of the use of the infrastructure from people we don't really know.
Thanks. Councilmember London.
Yes, I'm against putting out a sales tax to fund an improvement in the park. It's a lot of money. I don't think it's necessary at this point. I think, replace what needs to be replaced and go from there.
Thank you. Councilmember Fraley.
We don't have $7 million sitting in CIP to use. If we can take, as Councilmember Zahn said, we can take some money from the liquor fund to go towards it. If we start using a lot of the monies that's set aside for CIP, where are we going to be in 3 years down the road? How are we going to establish the vehicles that'll be needed for the police department, public works, and so forth? And I can agree with members on that we can take out that 500,000, put it forth, work with the parks grant. And if we do that, I think basically what we'll see is the replacement of the playground. The rest of the money we would not be able to raise fundraising efforts so far have only gathered approximately, what, $39,000. And that's been going on for a couple of years. So if I just take a quick count right now, we have 3 members that are against a lost, and that's fine. I just say, we won't have a park in a few years. But, and no, and I know I'll get that from the mayor, but it's true. The other thing too is when we had that town hall meeting, there was a gentleman that stood up and said, it has been proven when a lost comes in, local option sales tax comes in, the people lose revenue. That is not true. It's not factually true. He said people drive to another state. Okay. So now I'm living in Nisswa and I want to get milk from Schaefer's, but because I'm so upset over the lost, I'm going to drive to where? North Dakota, Iowa. I mean, his argument was pretty unintelligible. I'll put it that way. When I go to the park with my grandson in the summer when he comes to visit, the majority of the people that are there are tourists. Yes, there are some local families. Our best option is lost, but I think we're lost on the lost. So we'll see what happens in a couple of years. That's all I have to say.
There's just no other alternative that's been provided here since HKGM, is that the group?
HKGI.
Thank you. They came here and created that proposal. And granted, they can be scaled down, of course, but to what extent and where do we start cutting? It was done by, that design was created by the feedback that you garnered from those events hosted at the community center, right?
Correct.
So if we have to have active community fundraisers because the city, thus this council, is not able to spearhead it, that's off. We've raised, I believe it was 38 or 39,000 today. That will grow over time, but in comparison to what is needed or what is a projected, even a 5-year parks plan to be able to try to allocate dollars to it, that seems unlikely, like we're going to be able to continue to get a push there. To be able to move to make intra-city account transfers is an option, but again, 500,000 to a $7 million to $10 million proposed project budget, we're talking 5%-ish. So I would make sure that we're all knowing that if this is the route that this council is going to steer, that we need to have all other options on the table. I don't think anybody is exactly for taxing more people, right? It's just trying to find a solution to be able to give her the ammunition to be able to keep spearheading her beloved department of this town, which is probably one of the more visible next to Tom's Public Works, right? A park is a staple in a community, especially this one.
Yeah, I don't think anyone's disputing that the importance of the park and it being a staple in the community. I think we are maybe just looking at things differently and how to get there. And I still go back to, we can say, sure, we have this fund and there's only 39,000 raised, but there hasn't been a true fundraising initiative effort put towards it. In a past position that I held, I was charged with raising money to help our organization complete some things. I raised 5.9 million in 1 year. Or 2 years, sorry, and I'd never fundraised in my life before. I put together a business plan. I went out and started cold calling and reaching out to people that I thought could be warm leads, soft leads, right, whatnot. Presented the plan and the money started coming in, right? So I think that's what's missing, and that's why I keep going back to when Mark and Amber and I went over to Cross Lake for that best practice sharing with their mayor, their parks director, the gentleman that founded the 501c3 over in Cross Lake, I think it's called the Friends of the Parks and Library. They have put together a board over there, put together a strategy, a business plan, a case, went out and presented, started raising money, and that library and that park has been built solely on contributions. And I think that there is that opportunity here because I think we do have individuals that live directly in this community and some that maybe aren't directly in this one, but adjacent, that again, if we had this right strategic approach and did it the right way, not someone said at the town hall like, oh, you're not going to get anywhere with the bake sale. No, I'm not talking about a bake sale for fundraising, right? I'm talking about how these nonprofits raise a lot of money to build good things, that we really haven't taken that step. And I understand we're limited in terms of what staff and council can do. We can't go out and directly fundraise, but it doesn't mean we can't help bring ideas or help identify people that have those capabilities. And I just think that that's something we can consider. I don't think any of us sitting up here want to say, oh, the parks are going to be completely defunct and non-usable in 2 years. They're going to go away. Nobody wants that. But I think there's just other ways to consider doing it. And I also, and I've said this before, so I probably sound like a broken record, you can't take a plan and say, hey, here's 7 million or 10 million, we need to go raise it now and do it. We have to look at things in phases, right? To make it more palatable. And this is something that that gentleman over in Cross Lake said, and it's stayed with me. Is he said you start with like one phase, right? So whatever it is, phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, phase 4, you start with one, you show the community a win. So if that is us putting forward some funds to get a new playground equipment and get that going in the next year or two, now we're showing a nice small win. And if we are able to, at the same time, parallel path and find some folks to get together a nonprofit or work more collaboratively with the city to do that, and the dollars start coming in and there's momentum building, to me, those are avenues we should consider before we go straight to this local option sales tax. And I do understand it has to go through a lot of hurdles, and ultimately the residents in Nisswa, the people that can vote here, would vote if they wanted a local option sales tax or not. So Amber, I do appreciate all your hard work, and I'm sure it is a difficult position to be in.
Can
My
I provide a
position,
recap of, in the interest of time here?
yeah, go ahead.
I love that we're talking about this, so I don't want to give it up. But it's getting late. So to recap, in August, the Parks Commission recommended presenting to City Council to initiate the process to adopt the sales tax. At the September 18th workshop, we did a simple poll of council members. At that time, we had a majority that directed me to continue looking into this information. What I'm hearing tonight is that we no longer have a majority. Can we confirm that, or how would you like me to go forward with local option sales tax? With presenting meetings, or would you like me to pivot here today or bring you more information?
Can I just add a couple of things real quick? We've put out 2 times that maybe someone could, yes, I've been involved in fundraising also. We've put out twice in 2 different meetings if locals would come forth and form a 501c. We haven't had any bites yet. Also, let's look at Cross Lake. When we were over there, those were peanuts. In 15 years, they haven't even raised $1 million. So if that were how we do here, when they have a lot more influence and I would say money over in Cross Lake, in 100 years, we might have the parks funded. Also, too, I'm doom and gloom. We have a ice rink that is not working, not there. We may not even be able to use it this year. So that's basically gone. Am I incorrect on that one?
We are limping it along currently.
Yeah, it's being limped along. 2, yes, we've already talked a couple of years ago about the phasing of the parks. So that has been on the table. I know you haven't been here, but that has been on the table. Yes, the hope is that if we get the playground redone, that maybe people have interest and we'd go. I don't think that will happen. So yes, I am Mr. Doom and Gloom. So, and my fear is, I'm not saying it's definite, but my fear is if we don't do something or have something set, that we'll have a playground and that's about it. And just from what I've heard tonight, I think you're correct. We don't have a majority to continue with this.
My opinion on the piece is, why shelter this from the taxpayers and the electorate of the city of Nisswa? Why not let them? I mean, what an opportunity to be able to bring something we discuss up here directly to them, for them to vote on. It alleviates it from our shoulders entirely at that point, outside of getting it brought to that point to be able to have it be on the ballot. Why not? What a great opportunity.
Fred.
taking any outside information or thoughts. Amber, one question that I have is the University of Minnesota, when they gave you that, well, let me re-ask, maybe I'm not right. Who came up with the 65-35 numbers? Was that?
The question is talking about the U of M analysis that they did. So that's the extension. They did it last year, presented it last November, but it was U of M that used mobile data to determine some of, yes, correct.
So my question in my head as I'm listening and thinking is, did they take into account the uniqueness of Nisswa? And I say that because let's look at what do we pay sales tax on? We don't pay it on bread, milk, food. We don't pay it on clothing. I think it's could very well be higher than 65%. I mean, what things do Nisswa citizens buy in Nisswa that are actually taxed?
That's digging in deeper and we can talk about that, but yeah, but a lot of things are taxed, Fred, right? Your trash removal is taxed. If you have Netflix, it's taxed. If you order anything on Amazon, it's taxed, right? You go to the Holiday gas station, you want to buy a couple, whatever you buy up there, let's say you're a smoker, you buy cigarettes, it's taxed. You're a charity and you want to hold an event at Grandview, your sales taxes are going to go up there too, right? Like there's a lot of things that are taxed.
The simplest way to explain it is if it's already receiving a sales tax, this would be added on to it. So if it's not, as they're listing off like the essentials.
What Fred is trying to say is when I go to Schaefer's, almost everything I buy is not, when I come here, if you go to restaurants, if you stay in a resort motel, you're paying the tax. You go on gas, yes, and there's the online tax.
Fred, you're advocating that essentially it's higher due to based on what's actually being taxed.
Potentially it is higher than
Income
that.
from tourists or non-residents is.
I'll say both
driving it
of
higher.
the U of M and PFM are gonna be conservative.
Here's what I'll say, because we have a ton of stuff still on the agenda and we have people here also on the agenda. So there was no motion or vote taken tonight, Mark. So you can say you think the majority is not for it, and that may be true and it may not. However,
If I understand correct,
in November, so I say you want to keep moving forward, move forward, because when it comes time for this council to vote on a resolution, it's either going to pass or not.
Okay.
And you never know, things could change in 30 days, they could not change, right? So I think in the interest of time, and all that, you have put a lot of work into it. Keep putting work into it and let's see where council lands in November when you present, right? Because we'll have had a listening session with the Nisswa Chamber of Commerce business owners at that point in time. I think we'll have more information out in the public, so I'm sure all of us as council and electeds will hear from different folks in the community, right? So unless council disagrees, I say let's let Amber keep working. Let's see what she comes back with in November, because we still have a lot of other things on the agenda. Good?
That's good.
Okay, we'll
Okay.
do, just one thing for the public. There's information, FAQs on the website. There's the process, there's what is taxable, not taxable, as well as my contact information. So as these dialogues continue, please do your own research. Please contact me and I want to know what questions people have so I can get answers to them. Thank you.
Thanks, Amber. Okay, next up, item 10 is pay application number 6 for City Hall remodel. Tom.
Good evening, everybody. This is the final pay application for the remodel of City Hall. And it was for work completed through September 3rd. And this would also release the retainage on the building. Everything is complete. Woodseth and myself have reviewed the application. We believe everything is substantially complete. The pay application is for $33,732.03. And I would ask for approval of that payment.
I'll make a motion to approve the final pay application number 6 for high-tech Gordian to work complete through 9/3/2025 in the amount of $33,732.03 as presented.
Second.
Any discussion or questions for Tom? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. Tom, you're up next with the street lighting at County Road 18 in Middle Cullen.
Yes. So we had a citizen that contacted yourself, Mayor, and requested a street light be installed at the intersection of County Road 18 and Middle Cullen Road. This light location is in the Crowing Power service area. Upon notice to install, Crowing Power can have that light up in about 2 weeks. The budget impact for this installation, the installation is $1,500. And depending on which side of the street the light is installed, if it's on the east side of the street near the transformer, it has a monthly lease of $12 per month. If it were to be located on the west side, the lease payment is 26. I obviously recommend installation on the east, and you had a map showing the location included in your packet. So I look forward to approval to have that streetlight installed.
Any questions for Tom? There was a gentleman that did reach out to me via email. He was going to come tonight and speak, but then his schedule changed, so he was not able to be here. And so he had communicated to Maggie and we said we'd keep it on the agenda anyway.
It's not gonna impact the snowmobile trail there?
I don't believe so. I think it can be positioned so that the trail can come through. If anything, it probably helps the snowmobile trail just to kind of show where it shoots off onto Middle Cullen.
Any other street corners in Nisswa that are gonna need lights coming up here now?
You know, every year we have a couple that come up. People ask for it whenever they feel that they have an issue. It's really kind of a little bit of a tough issue just because you have some people who don't want the light pollution. So we generally wait for them to request it.
I'll make a motion to approve installing the new street light on the east side of the street on Middle Cullen Road as presented.
I'll second.
Any additional discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries.
Nay.
Oh, sorry, I thought you said aye. Okay,
You always forget
did
the
you
name.
catch that, Maggie?
I said nay, not no. It's a variation of no. It's a funny Robert Rules variation of no.
Okay,
I only caution the council, what streets are next? Street corners. I'd like to let these guys dictate, when those come up. I mean, we had a gentleman, a citizen, make a concern about emergency sirens this past summer, because they can't hear them. And I happen to live in that neighborhood and that's right, I only hear the Zorbas one when the wind's blowing and the straight line's coming straight to my house, and then it's already too late. So just urge caution, that's all.
okay, next is approve the hire of a maintenance technician.
Excuse me. So we have recently interviewed for backfilling of the maintenance department, maintenance technician. We have selected Cole Johnson. We carefully considered everyone that applied. We had actually quite a few applicants, which has been nice. We recommend starting Cole at grade 9, step 2. And that would be $26.56 per hour.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the hire of Cole Johnson as presented.
I'll second.
Any additional discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed signify by saying nay. Okay, motion carries. Public Works, consider state highway noise barrier.
Yeah, so what this program is I think it's every 3 years that the state approaches us for, they look to install noise barriers along 371. Usually where they want to install them is along the business areas close to downtown, is where they usually try to recommend. And there's some funding available for that, but there's also I believe it's a 10% match the city would have to have. We have not budgeted for that. In the past, I believe this has come up 2 other times, and the city council is usually pretty soundly rejected installing noise barriers, mostly because they're not as very aesthetically pleasing. This is something you typically see in the Twin Cities where you're dealing with, I think, much higher levels of traffic. But if you would like me to look further into that, just say so, and I will bring forward more information.
Oh, I think it'd be beautiful along our highways here. I mean, 94 in Minneapolis looks fantastic. Another graffiti target, trash culmination.
I agree with you.
I'm absolutely not in favor of such a thing. Preposterous.
Is there anyone on council that would like Tom to pursue this?
Do not consider this.
Yeah.
I'd be afraid people would be shooting at it.
Yeah.
Okay. So Tom, it sounds like a no.
Perfect.
All right, next up is the 2027 street improvement survey proposal.
I'm trying to find that on my tablet. Basically what this is it gives WSN permission to perform survey work before snow flies to work towards the completion of the 2027 road bond planning for the 30% plan. Dave, do you have anything you want to add to that?
It's basically just survey to get that in the can so that we can get that done before everything gets covered up with snow.
Came through Public Works and Public Works Committee approved it
That's right.
for additional context.
Okay, do we have a motion?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the Woodsett survey proposal for the 2027 road bond as presented.
Second.
Any additional discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed signify by saying nay. Okay, motion carries. And Tom, I think your last item is the septic easement and maintenance agreement for 21844 Tull Timbers.
Right. So this is kind of something new that we've had to start doing. What this is it's in reaction to the State Department of Labor and Industry has changed the way that they inspect step station installations in the city. And with that, our workaround for that has been to request new connections, provide the city with a clear easement for the step station and this line going out to the street. We've had at least one applicant who would have been required to put in a much more expensive step station if we didn't take this step. So I'm recommending this with every new connection until we get some kind of confirmation that the state
Okay,
won't require that.
so do we have a motion? All right, I'll make the motion.
I'll make.
Oh,
I'll
you're
make
gonna
a
make it?
motion.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve this as presented by Tom for the septic easement.
I'll second.
Any additional discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed signify by saying nay.
Abstain.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
Okay, next we have an individual from the public here to talk about the public access at Grandview. Brett, and sorry it's so late in the evening.
Oh, you guys are running a tight ship here. Mayor, council members, thank you for your time. My name is Brett Coate, 4426 East Linden Boulevard. On and off, lifetime resident here in Nisswa. Full disclosure, I am part of the Coate family that owns Grandview Lodge, but I do not speak for either here tonight. East and West Linden are an old residential communities here, and we even have our own special zoning district, different setbacks. My understanding is original creation of that came with platted public water easements. And, you know, Grandview is it's not a private gated community. It's in public streets. We pay for those streets and there are the public access. There's always some tension there, but it's worked out very well over the years. Came to my attention this summer, there were some changes at the waterfront that in my opinion, the accumulation of all four changes kind of impeded the public's access and right of way to the water. And so I've tried to bring that to the council's attention, the public's attention. I think the solution is relatively simple, but like a lot of Minnesotans, or I'm a previous Minnesotan, you know, I'm very protective of our public water rights and access. And so we want to get on, you know, make those corrections. Actually, it's going to be hard water now, so we have some time until soft water again. But, and I don't think any of their changes were malicious. I think it was just an overcompensation from some past behavior. So I hope you guys can work together with Grandview through some communication and encouragement.
Are you seeking any action or any feedback from council tonight?
I think we have some time to communicate with Grandview, you know, about keeping an access corridor, a year-round access corridor, especially off of Woodward is the street there. And that's, just wanted to have a public comment on that.
Okay, does council have any questions or anything for Mr. Coat? No?
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, next up is the planning and zoning assistance discussion. Maggie.
Based on council's recommendation, maybe August, I think it was, you wanted me to reach out to Crow Wing County to see if there was any assistance, kind of starting from phone calls to helping, mentoring, helping with planning and zoning, coming in and doing that. I did hear back from the county, and at this time, the county does not have any support or doesn't have any assistance to support us as a city with planning and zoning. I took it maybe a little step further and reached out to Sourcewell because they've always been able to help us in the past as we've had turnover in planning and zoning. So I thought that might be an avenue. As far as assisting with ordinances, they would say late 2026 is kind of their specific time. They're pretty busy through this winter and summer. They have a lot of training opportunities and things like that that we do get notified on. And at this time, they have no capacity to take over planning and zoning as a whole. I also reached out to Scott Sayer, who has helped with city business in the past and does ordinance revisions and policies and things like that. And he said he would be interested in helping with ordinances, processes, policies, but he would like clear direction on what the council would like to see.
Any questions, comments for Maggie?
Well, thank you.
Oh, thank you, Maggie. Next on the agenda under new business is the Economic Development Authority discussion. I know we've discussed this a lot as council and there is interest. My recommendation would be for us to schedule a workshop and invite folks like Tyler Glenn, who is the head of BLADEC, and other folks that have experience with different cities that have set these up. So we can really get educated as a council. And then from there, we would go to take some action as a council, if that works for everybody, but to set up a workshop sooner rather than later, being cognizant of people's schedules upcoming in the holidays, but we don't want to delay this too long.
December, maybe?
Yeah, if you look at the calendar, I think we probably could fit something in
That would
November.
be-
November's going to be tough, I think.
Tough for me.
Yeah.
Does that
I-
work for?
Yeah, I would just say sooner than later, though.
I'll just let you know right now, I will probably be gone the whole month of January and won't be able to zoom in. So yeah, if we can do it in December, that'd be
Okay, well,
great.
maybe we can all separately get availability to Maggie and
Okay.
she can kind of find a common time here that works for everybody and
Perfect.
obviously works with the partners in the community. Okay, last under new business is performance evaluations discussion. Because we've been kind of in this interim where we haven't had, or we don't have right now in the sense like a full-time administrator that would do the performance evaluations. In speaking with our labor attorney, and I forgot to have him speak to this because this was so far down. It is considered a best practice to still do those performance evaluations. So the thought was just to have us as a full council do them with department heads and then obviously the administrative department, and then the department heads would do it for their own departments. And so that was what this was all about, to potentially do that in November and December. Any comment or feedback, or if that works for everybody, we would work to schedule those.
I was just thinking we could do this like we did when I was in the Navy, where the lowest people evaluate the boss as well as the boss evaluating his workers. Just saying.
Yeah, I don't know how
No,
currently the department heads do it that have.
that won't work well.
But
That
I
won't.
would- yeah.
Aye, aye, Captain.
Okay. All right, if there's no other discussion on that, we'll work to schedule those to move forward in times that work with all of council and the department heads in closed sessions. Council liaison reports. I do not have anything for this evening. Councilmember Fraley, do you have any report?
I passed this on to Amber, but we had some people up over the weekend. They took a look at the new park we have, and they were quite impressed. And they do have backgrounds in that, so they were quite impressed, really liked it. So that was a positive for Nisswa.
Good. Councilmember London? Councilmember Zahn?
Nothing?
Councilmember Hall?
Nothing.
Okay, last, we have listed the announcements of the upcoming meeting dates, which you can also find on our website or posted out in the vestibule. With that, a motion to adjourn would be in order.
So moved.
A motion to adjourn is not debatable, so all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All right, our council meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everybody.